All right, guys, I woke up today and I think I've decided the Bears need to trade for a cornerback. If you agree with me, like this video, we will explore some corners that Chicago could potentially add. I'm Harrison Graham, and the Bears need help at the CB position. We're going to talk about it here on today's show. Just decimated. When you look like you did against Tyler Huntley, it's kind of a rough go, but it's also not surprising. I mean, look at the guys that are out. Jaylon Johnson, we have no idea if he's coming back. If he does, it's December at the earliest. Kyler Gordon, at least 3 more games. Tyrique Stevenson, you're hoping it's more of a 1-2 games at most. He already missed 1. Maybe he's back this week, but he's banged up. Terell Smith out for the year. Zah Frazier, who you drafted and thought could at least be a decent backup this year, had a personal issue and is out for the season for that situation. So you're down 5 corners who were all going to make the 53-man roster. I mean, it's been a bloodbath for Chicago's secondary at the cornerback position. As far as Kyler goes, Ben Johnson was asked after the game what his situation is. He says it's another soft tissue injury. They're hoping it's on the shorter end, but again, they put him on IR, so he's out a minimum of 3 more games. So he's going to miss the Cincinnati game, the Giants game, and I think they play the Steelers after that. Doesn't matter. He's out at least 3 more games. I was told it could be more like 6 to 8 weeks, so you might be looking at December for him as well. And so you had to trot out this trio against the Baltimore Ravens. Nahshon Wright, who's been scrappy, he's battled, but he's a career backup for a reason. Jaylon Johnson, who hadn't played a single snap in the secondary all year, and Nick McLeod, who he's trying hard, but let's face it, he's just not a starting caliber player in the NFL. And then Tyler Huntley looks like Joe Montana for much of the game. 17 to 22, just picking you apart. Guys wide open. Todd Monken, great game plan. I think the Bears have a decision to make. Are you trying to be competitive this year? And look, 1 game, and I tweeted this out, I think we all need to take a breath on the Bears. The Bears are 4-3. But I think it's also fair to say, if the unit you trotted out last week is what you're going to have to trot out with, and again, I think Tyreek's going to be back soon, but even with him, you're pretty thin there, man. And it's going to be hard when you go up against these teams with better receivers. Like the Ravens don't even have an elite receiver core. You're about to go up against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So if you're trying to push for a playoff spot this year, you're probably going to have to add a cornerback in some way, shape, or form. So let's explore some guys that could be available before the trade deadline. And honestly, hopefully this week because, again, you play the Bengals on Sunday. We'll start with Alontae Taylor. I think this is the guy that makes the most sense for a variety of reasons. He's in the final year of his rookie deal. Scheme versatile, or I should say position versatile. He could play nickel. He could play outside. He's played both in his career. And he played under Dennis Allen for 3 years in New Orleans for the first 3 years of his career. So you're not having to teach him a bunch of new stuff. He knows the defense. You can plug and play. I think if you traded for him today, he would start on Sunday, and on base defenses, he would be your second outside corner, opposite of Nahshon Wright if Tyreek couldn't go, if Tyreek could go, he would at least be your starting nickel, and who knows, maybe he gets some outside reps as well, splitting with Nahshon Wright. I think this would be a guy you bring in and who could help right away. None of these guys are going to dominate, but they could all help and be better options than the Nick McLeods and the Jaylon Joneses of the world. Okay, Riq Woolen, a guy we've talked about a few times. Over a month ago, a report surfaced that the Seahawks would be open to trading him. I don't know where that sits from Seattle's standpoint as of now, but ESPN did report that the Seahawks don't view him as a scheme fit long term. I think it's safe to say that he's not a guy that they're leaning toward re-signing. Now, they might value him enough to keep him post-trade deadline and for this year because they're trying to make a move this year, and he's coming off a good game against the Texans, and at worst, he's a really good backup this year. So I'm not saying they're just going to give him away, but if those reports are true that Mike Macdonald doesn't view him as a scheme fit, then he's not a long-term piece there. He's also in the final year of his contract. Since his rookie year, he hasn't played as well. But you see the skills. You see the size, the press man ability. I wish he was a more willing tackler. That would be something you would have to work through with him. But as an outside corner, I think he's a solid, low-end, mid CB2 type. Ideally, he's like a great CB3, but for what the Bears have right now, he could certainly help. He does have some pedigree, has played well in the league at times, has a lot of interceptions. So, if you traded for him today, I think he would start right away. That would be my guess. Okay, more cornerbacks to dive into here on Chicago Bears Now, but we do got to tell you guys about our awesome sponsor, Prize Picks. Daily fantasy made easy at prizepicks.com/CLNS. You and I make decisions every day, but being right on Prize Picks can get you paid. Don't miss any of the action this season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. All sports are going on right now. Think about it. You got football, you got basketball, which just returned. Hockey is a few weeks into the season. Soccer's going on. You've got, obviously, football rolling along. Baseball playoffs still ongoing. Plenty to do, and you can pick a player from all sports in one lineup. You just got to pick 2 or more players on 2 or more different teams, up to 6-player lineups regardless of sport, and you pick more or less on the stats available. Here's an example of a 2-player lineup I've got tonight. Marcus Mariota, I took more than 11.5 longest rushing gain, so he has to have a 12-yard run or more. And then I took more than 66.5 receiving yards for Rashee Rice. They were peppering him last week. I think he's going to continue to be a focal point of that offense. That Commander secondary has really struggled. $20 lineup to win $60 here. I really feel good about it. That's an example of a Prize Picks lineup. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Okay, Roger McCreary. I mentioned Riq Woolen. He's strictly an outside corner. Roger McCreary is strictly a nickel corner. Now, again, with Kyler Gordon injured, you might be willing to bring in a nickel-only guy. Now, if you think Kyler's coming back, that's why, again, Alontae Taylor is probably the ideal guy because he's more versatile. Roger McCreary, if you remember him coming out of Auburn, really short arms, so that kind of makes him nickel only. But he's a willing tackler in the run game. He's played pretty well this year. Overall, the Titans have seemingly made it clear through multiple reporters in the media that everyone except for Cam Ward and Jeffrey Simmons is available. And again, all these guys are rentals, so typically I don't love trading for a rental, but at this position I actually am okay with it because big picture, Jaylon's going to be back, whether it's this year or next. Kyler's going to be back. Like, you don't need necessarily a long-term answer at corner. Maybe you do. We don't know how those guys will be long-term after the injuries, but these trades shouldn't cost a ton as these teams have made it pretty clear that they're available and that they are rentals. And you could kind of play the comp pick formula game. You trade for these guys, they help you this year. If they sign elsewhere, maybe you get a future draft pick back as well. So you might even get that pick back that you lose in a potential trade for one of these guys. Okay, what type of corner do you think the Bears should add? Type N for nickel, O for an outside corner. Ideally you get someone who can do a little bit of everything. That would be ideal, but you guys let me know. Rasul Douglas has more versatility. Now, historically, he's an outside corner, but he has played some slot in his career as well. He's quietly graded out pretty well for the Dolphins this year, a team that's obviously had a lot of issues, but didn't sign until August. I think it's like a $3 million deal, so it's not going to cost you anything on your salary cap, and it shouldn't cost much in a trade. Now, Miami is coming off a win. They might want to see how it goes Thursday night. It is a short week, so this one's a little tricky in terms of trying to get him on board for this next game because they do play Thursday. I doubt Miami's going to trade a starter 3 days before the game or 2 days before the game tomorrow. You never know. They could be sellers, but that one does make it tricky for this upcoming game. But I do think he's been pretty good. I've seen some of his reps this year, and he is still pretty sticky in coverage on the back end. He's not taking the ball away at the rate that he did a few years ago. He doesn't have a pick in the last 2 years, but he's still holding up in coverage. I think as a CB2 type, he can still play well. And like I said, he does have some versatility. He's more of an outside corner, but if he needs to play slot, he could do that. So again, for this team right now, that position flex would certainly have some value. All right, subscribe and join us. We're going to be live later today for Overreaction Monday. Plenty to discuss. We'll close the book on the Ravens game and get ready for Cincinnati. So subscribe, turn on notifications, and remember, Bears are 4-3. Season's not over. We don't need to completely freak out despite a disappointing loss yesterday. Okay, Cam Taylor-Britt, kind of like Rasul Douglas, but for different reasons. You're probably not going to be able to trade for him this week. Why? Because you play the Bengals. I don't think the Bengals are going to trade you Taylor-Britt and then face him this week. Now, could you trade for him after the game, especially if you beat the Bengals? Then Cincinnati would fall to 3-6 after they lost to the Jets yesterday. Certainly a possibility on that front. Now, recently the Bengals did bench him. Now he's kind of been in and out of the lineup. They're clearly scrambling for answers because that defense has had some issues this year. But again, for this game, it probably doesn't help you, but could be one you revisit after this week, depending on the status of some of your hurt corners at this point in time. So those are some 5 trades. 2 more trade targets to consider. Michael Carter with the Jets. He's more of a nickel only, but he could be a guy you bring in. Deonte Banks is horrible, but the Giants would like to trade him. I'm not even sure if he's better than Nick McLeod, so I'm not that interested in him, but he is a guy that's on the market. And then the free agents that we've discussed. Stephon Gilmore, no idea if he's been working out, but if he has, I mean, I'd be at least interested in bringing him into the building for a workout. Asante Samuel Jr., it's late October now. He was supposed to have a medical check in mid-October to see if he's medically cleared because he had that neck surgery. So I don't know where that sits. I'd be looking into it if I was the Bears, but there hasn't been an update from any of these reporters. So maybe the check hasn't happened yet. Maybe it didn't go well. I'm not sure, but that's a name to monitor. James Bradberry, I think he's pretty cooked, but he is a name that is out there as well as a free agent. All right, should the Bears trade for a corner? Type T for trade, type P for pass. Again, I don't want to break the bank, but if you can get someone for like a 6th-round pick, I would be open to it. You're a 4-3 team. I'm not trying to just play practice squad corners. Like I'm trying to be competitive and continue to win some games here. So we'll see if they do it. It's a clear issue right now, and you're about to go up against the best receiver in the game and the best, probably number 2 receiver in the game with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. All right, that's going to do it for Chicago Bears Now. We will be back live this afternoon, 4 o'clock Central Time, so subscribe and join us then. My name is Harrison Graham. Bear down.